The Karate Kid franchise is back, with Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio teaming up for the very first time. But how did we get here? From Daniel LaRusso to Cobra Kai and Mr. Han, here's everything that you need to know leading up to Karate Kid Legends. To start, the story begins in the original 1984 film. Daniel LaRusso moves from New Jersey to Reseda, LA, where the Karate Kid saga truly begins. At their new apartment, Daniel and his mother Lucille meet the local handyman, Mr. Miyagi. And soon enough, Daniel starts making friends, and that includes his classmate, Allie Mills. This attracts the attention of Allie's ex, Johnny Lawrence, who is also the top student at the Cobra Kai dojo. After seeing Allie and Daniel flirting at the beach party, Johnny rides into the scene with the Cobra Kai gang and beats Daniel in single combat. This is the same gang that Johnny rides bikes with in the Cobra Kai dojo. Anyways, weeks of torments pushes Daniel to over the edge. And on Halloween night, Daniel gets him back by dousing Johnny in water. But when Daniel tries to leave after, Johnny and his gang give Daniel a brutal beatdown. Thankfully, Mr. Miyagi's there to save Daniel, easily beating up the Cobra Kai goons and revealing that he's a karate master himself. While Miyagi refuses to teach Daniel karate, he does accompany Daniel to try and make peace with the Cobra Kai sensei, John Kreese. And though Kreese refuses their peace offering, Miyagi does get Cobra Kai to stop bullying Daniel, only on one condition. In order for Daniel, Johnny, and the rest of the Cobra Kai students to fight on equal terms, Daniel must enter a U18 All-State Valley Karate Championship. So in preparation, Miyagi begins training Daniel in karate. Daniel is initially frustrated at Mr. Miyagi, thinking that he's just making him do chores. Miyagi later reveals that these chores are actually developing Daniel's muscle memory for defensive blocks and other techniques. In time, Daniel learns Miyagi's backstory, which is also expanded on in Cobra Kai. While Miyagi was serving in the 442nd Infantry Regiment in Europe back in World War II, his pregnant wife was confined to an internment camp in Manizar, California. And as Miyagi was fighting overseas, his wife and son were tragically lost in childbirth. Notably, Miyagi's hard life was instrumental in him forming the core tenets that he would use for Miyagi-Do karate. And indeed, Miyagi's lessons improve every facet of Daniel's life, including his relationship with Allie. For his 18th birthday, Miyagi gives Daniel his karate gi. Oh, and one of his classic cars too. During the actual tournament, Kreese pressures his students into injuring Daniel's leg. Twice! Despite that, Daniel makes it through the entire tournament to face off Johnny in the final fight. Unable to stand on both legs, Daniel assumes the now famous crane stance. And in one of the most iconic and referenced scenes from 80s cinema, Daniel kicks Johnny as he attacks, winning the All-Valley. In the end, Johnny shows Daniel respect by handing Daniel the championship trophy himself. And while things did end happily at the end of the first movie, the sequel immediately drops Daniel, Mr. Miyagi, Johnny, and Mr. Kreese in a whole new world of trouble. After the All-Valley Championship, Kreese reprimands Johnny for losing the fight. And while Johnny sticks up to his sensei, Kreese ends up attacking him. And though Miyagi threatens to strike Kreese with a finishing blow, he instead honks his nose, humiliating him in front of his students and forcing them to leave the dojo. This is also the scene that Kreese refers to when he finally apologizes to Johnny in Cobra Kai.
I'm sorry for that, John.
6 months later, Miyagi gets a letter informing him that his father is dying. So Daniel accompanies Miyagi to his home village on Okinawa Island in Japan. On the way there, Miyagi reveals to Daniel why he left Okinawa in the first place: to avoid fighting to the death his best friend Sato, who also studied karate under Miyagi's father. Upon his return to Okinawa, Miyagi and Daniel are greeted by Chosen, who becomes a series regular in Cobra Kai. Chosen is the nephew of Sato, who ambushes Miyagi to once again challenge him to a fight, which Miyagi refuses. When Daniel and Miyagi arrive at their home village, they are greeted by Yuki and her niece, Kamiko. Daniel and Miyagi also find out that Sato has become filthy rich due to overfishing and land grabbing, leaving the rest of the village destitute, with Sato being their sole landlord. Later, when Mr. Miyagi's father has passed, Sato gives him 3 days to mourn before their fight. And during this time, Miyagi shows Daniel another Miyagi-Do secret, the Den Den Dako. Apologies if I'm saying that wrong. A traditional handheld pellet drum. As Daniel practices Miyagi's drum-inspired striking technique, him and Kimiko develop a romantic relationship. Soon enough, things get heated between Chosen and Daniel. After Daniel accidentally exposes Chosen to cheating customers at the grocery store, Chosen takes this as a slight to his honor. So Chosen and his gang attack Daniel and vandalize Miyagi's home. After Miyagi fights off the gang, him and Daniel decide to return to LA. However, Sato later returns to give Miyagi an ultimatum. If he continues to refuse to fight, Sato will destroy the village. He will accept Sato's challenge, but only if he gives back the land to the village, no matter who wins the fight. On the day of the fight, however, a ferocious typhoon descends upon the village, destroying Sato's dojo. When Sato is trapped under the ruins, it is Miyagi and Daniel to save him, who then free a child who was trapped atop the bell tower. This prompts Sato to order Chosen to help Daniel, and when Chosen refuses, Sato shames Chosen, who then runs away in disgrace. The next day, a very different Sato returns to the village. Accompanied with a crew to help rebuild the village, Sato apologizes to Miyagi, handing over the deed to the land. Apart from essentially giving the village back to the people, Sato even hosts the next local festival. It is at that festival that Chosen returns with a vengeance, ziplining down in the middle of the festival and taking Kamiko hostage. Chosen lays out his demands, for him and Daniel to fight to the death. Daniel reluctantly agrees. After Chosen overpowers Daniel, Sato, Miyagi, and the rest of the village use their Den-Den Daikos in unison. This confuses Chosen and inspires Daniel to use the drum technique to finally defeat him. Instead of a killing blow, however, Daniel chooses to honk Chosen's nose, much like Miyagi did to Kreese at the beginning of Karate Kid Part 2. And in the sequel, Daniel and Miyagi face off against a villain that longtime Cobra Kai fans are very familiar with. Released in 1989, The Karate Kid Part 3 sees John Kreese enlist the aid of fellow war veteran Terry Silver, who vows to re-establish Cobra Kai and get revenge on Miyagi-Do. So in this movie, Silver sends Kreese away to take over Cobra Kai, and he also hires vicious karate champion Mike Barnes to challenge Daniel at the next tournament. Meanwhile, upon returning back to LA from Okinawa, Mr. Miyagi and Daniel find their apartment demolished. With Lucille moving back to New Jersey, Daniel moves in with Mr. Miyagi. Daniel and Miyagi partner up to run a bonsai store together, which Barnes and his goons destroy when Daniel refuses to sign up for the next tournament. So with the help of new friend and love interest Jessica, Daniel retrieves an old bonsai tree that Miyagi had planted beneath a cliff. While there, however, Barnes ambushes Daniel and forces him to sign an All-Valley tournament contract. So when Miyagi refuses to train Daniel for the All-Valley, Daniel then goes to Silver to start his training at Cobra Kai. Silver subjects Daniel to physical and mental torture, even bribing a stranger to provoke Daniel. Distraught over who he has become, Daniel seeks comfort in Jessica, who urges him to reconcile with Mr. Miyagi. Barnes, Silver, and Kreese then team up to prevent Daniel from leaving the Cobra Kai dojo. But they are all defeated by Miyagi, who agrees to start training Daniel again. In the end, despite Barnes' dirty tactics, Daniel wins the All-Valley tournament yet again, thwarting Silver's plans of re-establishing the Cobra Kai dojo. And while Miyagi's story continues in the 1994 sequel, The Next Karate Kid, Daniel does not appear in the film. His story picks up much later in Cobra Kai. Meanwhile, Mr. Han only appears in the 2010 reboot of The Karate Kid. The 2010 film is practically a beat-for-beat remake of the original, despite characters and setting changes. Instead of karate, the reboot is about kung fu. Based on Mr. Miyagi, Daniel, and Johnny, Mr. Han saves Dre Parker from Chang and other bullies. And instead of John Kreese and the Cobra Kai, there is Master Lee and the equally abusive Fighting Dragons dojo. Perhaps the biggest difference between the two is Mr. Miyagi and Mr. Han's backstory. Unlike Mr. Miyagi, Mr. Han's wife and son died after Han crashed their car. Even so, the film ends much like the original did. Dre rises above the dirty tactics of the Fighting Dragons to defeat Chang. But rather than using the crane kick, Dre uses a kung fu snake stance to win, earning the respect of Chang, who hands him the winning trophy. Just like the original Karate Kid movie, Chang is reprimanded by Master Lee, who is then humiliated into submission by Mr. Han. This is the last time that Dre and Mr. Han have appeared in the franchise. 33 years after Johnny lost to Daniel in the All-Valley tournament, Cobra Kai brings the franchise back to LA. Instead of Daniel, however, the hero of Cobra Kai is actually Johnny, who resurrects Cobra Kai after saving Miguel from a group of bullies, not unlike Mr. Miyagi did in the original film. That said, the return of Cobra Kai also reignites Daniel and Johnny's rivalry. As a result, the teens of the Valley get embroiled in a decade-long conflict between Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. Most notably, Johnny's new student Miguel becomes rivals with Johnny's son Robbie, who learns karate from Daniel despite Johnny's wishes. After Miguel uses dirty tactics against Robbie to win the All-Valley tournament, Johnny fails to rebuild the relationship with Robbie. And Kreese takes advantage of that to take control of Cobra Kai dojo yet again right under Johnny's nose. As Kreese remolds Cobra Kai in his cruel image, teenagers from both dojos become increasingly more violent with each other. And due to a love triangle with Miguel, Daniel's daughter Sam, and new Cobra Kai student Tori, Robbie temporarily paralyzes Miguel after a massive school brawl. This incident forces Johnny, Daniel, and former rival Chosen to band together in order to take down Kreese, who has also enlisted the help of Silver. And finally, the Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai rivalry culminates in the global Sekai Taikai tournament. In time, Kreese sees the errors of his ways, reconciling with Johnny, and even sacrificing himself to take Silver out. Meanwhile, Daniel even helps Johnny to reclaim Cobra Kai. And in the end, Cobra Kai emerges as the winners of this tournament, with Miguel, Tori, and Johnny being champions. In the aftermath, Daniel and Johnny didn't merely lay their rivalry to rest, but also combined the two dojos. Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai are now working together to teach a balanced form of karate to the Valley's youth. And while Johnny isn't in Karate Kid Legends, Daniel is bound to take lessons from Cobra Kai into his next Karate Kid films. And these lessons certainly won't be lost on Mr. Han, as he has taken the Mr. Miyagi role in the franchise. So what do you think is in store for Mr. Han and Daniel in Karate Kid Legends? Let us know in the comments down below, and thanks for watching ScreenRant.